The first WrestleMania set the stage for everything that was to follow.
All the way around the world. Now you know what it's all about, brother.
Celebrities were out in full force, showing that this was the place to be. WrestleMania 2 pushed the boundaries, taking place in 3 different locations: New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, delivering 3 huge main events. But it would be WrestleMania 3 in 1987 that truly displayed WrestleMania's full potential. And for our first match of the 2K24 Showcase of the Immortals, we go into the first verified WrestleMania Classic, the legendary clash for the WWE Intercontinental Championship between champion, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and his challenger, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Intercontinental Champion since February of 1986, Savage tore through anyone who challenged him. That included a successful defense against George the Animal Steele at WrestleMania 2. A clash between Savage and Steamboat during a late 1986 edition of Superstars would see the Macho Man retain via countout, but that wasn't good enough. He would launch a vicious attack on the Dragon after the match, taking him out of action. Savage would attempt to duplicate the attack on Steamboat's friend and former opponent George Steele during the first Saturday night's main event of 1987. Fortunately for the Animal, Ricky would make his well-timed return for the save, leading to the rematch between the two at WrestleMania. What transpired between the two combatants can only be described as art. A fast-paced, high-action classic unfolded in front of 90,000 plus in attendance, with both men coming so very close to victory on a number of occasions. Would Savage be able to turn back the challenge of his angry opponent? Would Ricky Steamboat get revenge? These questions would be answered over the next 15 grueling minutes. And when it was over, everyone in attendance and those watching at home knew they had been a part of something special. The two superstars would forever be etched in history following the match, with Ricky Steamboat finally putting an end to the Macho Man's historic reign. From the moment the bell rang, and these two didn't give each other a second to rest. Ricky Steamboat fighting to avenge a career-jeopardizing attack months earlier by not only defeating Savage in the ring, but also ending his reign as Intercontinental Champion. The aggression was almost uncharacteristic from Steamboat. Was Steamboat too angry?
And would that lead him to making a costly mistake? Was Steamboat too focused on hurting Savage and not on winning the match? Had the Dragon taken enough time to recover in the first place, or had he rushed back in the hopes of humiliating the Macho Man under WrestleMania's bright lights? Surely the presence of Miss Elizabeth's not-so-secret admirer, George the Animal Steele, was going to be a distraction to the Macho Man, who'd look to keep Steele away from his manager at all times. Could Savage shut all that out and lock in on his challenger? Despite the external factors, these two appeared to be firing on all cylinders once they settled in. There was a real sense that this match could be, and was going to be, something special. The fans were captivated by the constant back-and-forth battle, with no one really able to maintain any type of control in the early portion of the match. The Macho Man appeared almost thankful to get a moment to himself after dumping Steamboat back to the floor, letting you know that Savage understood he was in a fight unlike any other he'd been in before. Things were only getting started. The Macho Man was trying everything, and that included fighting dirty. But Steam continued to have an answer at every turn. Steamboat's counter-wrestling had smothered Savage's offense, and the building frustration was obvious on the face of the Macho Man. In a match this closely contested, one small mistake can be a game-changer. And Savage's frustration led to him making a big one, charging at Steamboat only to be backdropped to the floor. Steamboat finally had a huge opportunity to pour on the pressure and put Savage away. Once the referee went down, there was a real sense of panic. Savage quickly hits his flying elbow, but obviously there was no official to count. The Dragon was grounded for now, but there was no way Savage had already put his fire out. After all the two had gone through, how was it going to end? Looking to take advantage of the situation, the Macho Man looked to use the ring bell on the fallen Dragon, only to be intercepted by George the Animal Steel. Macho Man, choosing to retaliate against Steel instead of getting back to Steamboat, ultimately ends up being the decision that costs him. A then-record Intercontinental Championship reign comes to a bitter end for Savage, who wasn't thrilled about the manner in which he lost. And Steamboat's counter wrestling remains the key to this match, once again getting him out of trouble and earning him the victory. Hard to feel bad about a guy who tried to use the ring bell twice. This match, over 35 years later, is still a certified classic. The athleticism is incredible.
Continental Champion, the Dragon, Steamboat!
Long tortured by Randy Savage, both the Dragon and the Animal's elation is easy to see as they're carted back to the locker room. Put this match on a loop and I'd never get bored. I love Steamboat versus Savage.
The clash between the Dragon and the Macho Man was a jaw-dropping battle between two of WWE's technical masters, an instant classic by all measures. But when the dust had settled and after the smoke had cleared, after Steamboat was carted off proudly holding his Intercontinental Championship above his head, the realization set in. We still have Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant. Featuring two of WWE's biggest stars at the time, this was the headliner that brought those 90,000 people together in the first place.
Everybody has their best day at WrestleMania. That's the creme de la creme. WrestleMania, main event, there's nothing else in this world like it.
Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant were great friends for years. Andre famously poured the bubbly all over Hogan when he captured the WWE Championship in January of 1984, and the two were nearly inseparable from then on. The two would be presented with trophies in separate weeks. Hogan was given one for reigning as champion for 3 years, while Andre received one for going 15 years without losing. For both ceremonies, Andre was not his usual self, first noting to Hogan that 3 years to be a champion, it's a long time, and ultimately walking out of his own trophy celebration when Hogan arrived to praise Andre's accomplishments. The world was on edge, waiting to see what comes next. Soon after, Andre would appear with Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Wait, what's going on here? Hold on, man. What are you doing with him?
Heenan had gotten to Andre, fanning the flames of resentment that burned inside.
Did you ever once in your life offer him a championship match?
A heartbroken Hogan tried to reason with his friend, but with one move, yanking Hogan's chain from his neck, it was clear there was no turning back.
There's nothing else like getting in the ring with Andre the Giant. It is the great unknown. When you get there and you're with Andre the Giant, you're outmatched, you're outsized, you're outpowered. It's an uphill battle, so you have to fight from underneath. You have to have everything in sync, body, mind, and soul. to survive fighting an opponent like Andre the Giant. When I slammed Andre the Giant, I was surprised how the crowd reacted. 94,000 people lost their breath and gasped at the same time. It overwhelmed me in the ring. It's etched in stone. It's just overwhelming how many people every day approach me and talk about WrestleMania 3.
Now it's up to you to do the impossible and defeat Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. It truly is the irresistible force meeting the immovable object.
It felt like time stood still once the bell rang, and Hogan and Andre approached each other in the center of the ring. It was finally here. The reason all these people were in the arena. The dominant 3-year WWE champion and the man who'd gone undefeated for 15 years about to collide. Who would strike first? Everything was amplified here. Andre's shove felt thunderous. Then, everyone held their breath when Hogan tried and failed to body slam Andre, nearly losing the match in the process. Could Hogan slam Andre? Would he try it again? Did he hurt his back or his knees in that failed lift? Andre, thinking he'd won the match, would have to recompose and get back on the task of taking out the Hulkster. Hogan had dealt with bigger opponents before, but really seemed to struggle with Andre's size and power advantage. Every shot Andre landed crumbled Hogan. Andre had just been dominant to this point. But an ill-advised trip to the ringside area would see Andre make his first real misstep, throwing a headbutt at Hogan that only ate ring post. With little success in the match to this point, Hogan would look for a pile driver of all things. But Andre easily backdropped him to the floor. If Andre could shake off headbutting the ring post so quickly, what was it going to take to keep him down for a 3 count? Hulkamania was looking to be in deep, deep trouble. That moment where Hogan finally takes Andre down with the clothesline, and seeing Andre timber to the mat, that's when it seemed like Hogan winning was a real possibility again. But he had to act right now or Andre would recover. Bobby Heenan screaming at Andre while he's down let you know the brain knew it too. And then you see Hogan start shaking his arms and you're just thinking there's no way. But there is. And then it happens. Hulk Hogan lifts Andre the Giant up and body slams him. Nobody thought he could do it. One of the most magical moments in WWE history. Hogan was in full control of this match.
And WrestleMania 3 ends with real American blasting, a Hulk Hogan pose down, and Andre the Giant and Bobby Heenan stunned in their failure. One of the most important matches not only in WrestleMania history, but WWE history itself. Up next, we jump ahead to WrestleMania 5 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Those with tickets didn't know it as they entered the venue that evening, but they were about to witness one of WrestleMania's biggest upsets take place right in front of their eyes. The Ultimate Warrior captured the WWE Intercontinental Championship at the inaugural SummerSlam in 1988 by blitzing the Honky Tonk Man, ending his record reign in a little over 30 seconds. Since then, he seemed unstoppable, a lock to become WWE Champion one day. Two people who were not impressed were ravishing Rick Rude and his manager Bobby the Brain Heenan. The 1987 Slammy Award winner for Best Body felt that Warrior was nothing special, both in-ring and even in terms of physique. This led to Rude challenging Warrior to a super pose down at the 1989 Royal Rumble, where the winner would be decided by the WWE Universe's approval. Pretty quickly, it was clear that the Ultimate Warrior was going to be crowned the people's choice, and Rude was livid. He'd launch a vicious attack, bringing the competition to an abrupt end. That would lead to the signing of the contract for the two to compete in the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania 5, and the world felt that Warrior would destroy his brash challenger. But Heenan and Rude were more than prepared for the champion. Heenan was desperate to have WWE Gold in his vaunted Heenan family ranks, and he knew that the Ravishing One was the right man for the job. They told anyone who'd listened that Rude was going to beat the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania, and now the time had come. Had they backed Warrior into a corner, or were they about to realize they'd bitten off far more than they could chew? That's a question only you can answer.
Warrior wasted no time, rushing at Rude the second he entered the ring. There would be no feeling out, no tentative lockups here. Warrior was here to make Rude pay for what he'd said, and especially what he'd done. And he was going to do that with some of the freakiest power ever displayed in WWE. The way he absolutely manhandled Rude was a sight to behold. No one had done this to Rude before. All the confidence had been drained from the faces of Rude and Bobby Heenan, as Ultimate Warrior had steamrolled his challenger in the opening moments. Struggled to this point, but his luck was going to change in an instant. Warrior hit the ropes 3 times before attempting his big splash, giving Rude just enough time to get his knees up and block the attack. Big time ring awareness shown by the Ravishing One to keep himself in the match. Rude needed to take advantage here because his opportunities for offense were few and far between. Rude looked to put Warrior away with the Rude Awakening. And then Warrior just powers out of it, pushes Rude's arms away like they're nothing. No one had ever seen that done. All the momentum now with the Warrior, and he's looking to punish Rude a little bit more before ending the match. Rude looks completely out of it, and even Bobby Heenan looks flustered. Rude is trying to survive, trying to escape, but Warrior is relentless. Warrior's throwing Rude all over the place when it happens. One last act of desperation from Bobby Heenan turns this match on its head. He trips Warrior and hangs onto his boots for dear life. Warrior can't kick out. Just like that, Heenan and Rude have stolen the Intercontinental Championship from the Ultimate Warrior in front of a completely stunned crowd. Rude smartly took his new championship and headed for the locker room. But Bobby Heenan, on the other hand, would not be so lucky, further incurring the wrath of an angry Ultimate Warrior. And while the now former Intercontinental Champion would chase the new title holder right out of the arena, nothing could diminish the huge upset that night at WrestleMania 5, with Ravishing Rick and Bobby the Brain pulling a fast one.
An arena left completely shocked as Ravishing Rick Rude pins the Ultimate Warrior to win the WWE Intercontinental Championship, with a little assist from his manager, The Brain. Hey, if the ref doesn't see it, he can't call it. Those are the breaks. With the crowd buzzing from the monumental upset, it was time for WrestleMania 5 to deliver its main event. The Macho Man Randy Savage defending the WWE Championship against his former best friend and Mega Powers partner, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Dig it. He was one of a kind. He was intense. He was a great athlete. Everything about him was 100% perfect for sports entertainment and professional wrestling.
While the split of the Mega Powers was made official on a February 1989 edition of the main event, the cracks had been obvious to many long before that fateful night. Hogan and Savage's friendship had been beneficial to both, which was never more evident than the year prior at WrestleMania 4. On this evening, the vacant WWE Championship was to be decided in a 16-man, one-night tournament. In an absolutely brilliant display of athleticism and heart, the Macho Man would compete in 4 different matches to claim the championship. But it was in the final against the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase that Savage would run into seemingly more trouble than he could handle. In DiBiase's corner was Andre the Giant. Throughout the match, Andre interjected, bringing Savage's offense to a halt, or distracting him for attacks by DiBiase. Eventually, Miss Elizabeth would run into the back, bringing Hogan out to restore some order. And Hogan's presence led to Savage's win with a perfectly timed chair shot that the ref didn't catch. Like I said before, those are the breaks. The Mega Powers would be locked in a heated rivalry with Andre and DiBiase, now known as the Mega Bucks, that culminated with their victory at the very first SummerSlam. Around this time, though, it appeared Randy Savage was jealous of the closeness between Hogan and Elizabeth. Some on commentary would mention it, but many were quick to dismiss that there was any tension between the two. Things got worse at the 1989 Royal Rumble when Hogan eliminated Savage, some claim accidentally, which infuriated the Macho Man. Everything came to a head at the Main Event 2 on February 3rd, 1989. The Mega Powers would compete in tag team action, looking to show the bond was still strong. After Miss Elizabeth was caught up in the action, Hogan would take her to the back for medical attention, leaving the Macho Man alone. Upon his return to the match, Hogan would extend a hand to tag in, but would instead be slapped in the face by an enraged Randy Savage. A post-match altercation in the locker room would make it official. The Mega Powers were dead, and a clash was inevitable. Soon after, Hogan would lay down the challenge for WrestleMania 5. In a final twist, Miss Elizabeth would side with neither man, insisting that she'd be ringside in a neutral corner instead, offering to help either if they needed it. We were able to sit down with Hulk Hogan to talk about the night the Mega Powers exploded.
The lines were so blurry between reality and what we were trying to accomplish. He was madly in love with his wife, Elizabeth, for real. He was madly jealous for real. Leading up to it, you know, when she was managing him or managing me or couldn't depend on who she was going to manage, it made him crazy. I just didn't know what type of abuse I was in for, so it was a little nuts. He was there to go, and he pushed the gas pedal down really hard on me in that match. Once you became a Macho Man fan, that was the only thing you could think about. His look, just the way he carried himself. I had nothing but respect for him.
It's always so great to hear from the legends themselves when it comes to these unforgettable WrestleMania moments and matches. Thanks again to Hulk Hogan for his time. Now, let's get you into the middle of an intensely heated WWE Championship match where the world would watch the Mega Powers explode.
Hogan came into this match incensed. The Macho Man looked to use that to his advantage early. With months of payback heading his way, Savage was evasive and defensive to the bull rush tactics of Hogan, appearing to frustrate the challenger. Hogan had a look in his eye that night. You could tell he wanted to hurt Savage. And Savage also wasn't shy about using Miss Elizabeth to his advantage, flagrantly bringing her into harm's way to stop Hogan in his tracks. Savage was playing by nobody's rules but his own, and if Hogan was going to get any revenge, he'd have to find a way to keep his own temper in check. Savage was showing early on that his approach would be as chaotic as possible, and now a once rampaging Hogan had slowed things down, looking to restore some order. The Macho Man's actions sent a clear message that anything goes and anyone would be fair game. Savage had, for the moment, managed to turn the tide with a well-placed boot. Now Savage wanted to slow things down, but this also gave him a chance to talk directly to Hogan, to remind Hogan of what he'd done to him at the main event, to rub in Hogan's face the fact that the Macho Man is the WWE Champion, that he knows Hogan is jealous of him and always has been. To look over at Miss Elizabeth and taunt her because Savage doesn't for 1 second believe that she's neutral at all. The Macho Man was getting some energy back while slowly sucking the life out of Hogan. Could the cheers of the Hulkamaniacs get him back to his feet? Hogan would get back on the attack once he broke free. Why not go for the leg drop? Hogan's flash of offense is extinguished as quickly as it started, and Randy Savage seemed to have Hogan on the brink of exhaustion in their mega power collision. In one of the more surprising moments of this match, Miss Elizabeth proves herself true to her word, stopping Hogan from running Savage into the ring post, maintaining her neutral status. The Macho Man would take advantage of Hogan's reluctance. Once again, Savage showed no regard for the safety of Liz. Fed up with her presence, Savage would insist to the referee that she be removed, and she'd be escorted back to the locker room. Having his constant distraction removed seemed to invigorate Savage. He was looking to put the finishing touches on what had been a master class to that point. Just moments away from showing that it was Savage who was the true force of the Mega Powers, not Hogan. Looking to set up his vaunted flying elbow, Savage would target Hogan's throat. Hulkamaniacs knew to never lose hope, but it wasn't looking good for Hogan here. The Macho Man looked better than he ever had, seemingly on the verge of his biggest victory yet.
The sports entertainment world could only brace for impact as Savage and Hogan battled, and when it was over, a common WrestleMania sight was seen. Hulk Hogan celebrating in the ring with the WWE Championship back in his possession. And as the 1980s gave way to the 90s, around the world there was a real sense of looking for the next big thing. The newest, the coolest, the fastest, the strongest, anything to show where the future was. This was also the case in WWE. Amongst the members of the WWE Universe, many saw the Ultimate Warrior as the heir apparent to the throne that Hulk Hogan had occupied for 6 years. The untamed superstar appeared capable of matching Hogan's strength and had dominated all other opponents. Even that loss we relived at WrestleMania 5 against Rick Rude, he avenged that just a few months later at SummerSlam, regaining the Intercontinental Championship in the process. But this talk all seemed like fantasy, only existing as a dream match. Hogan and Warrior weren't enemies, and for either of them to turn against the other would run against the strict codes of honor to which both men claimed to adhere. All of that changed in the 1990 Royal Rumble match. It was brief, but for a moment, the only two men in the ring were, you guessed it, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. The crowd went nuts, and these two stared at each other for a minute before circling up. Two running tackles led nowhere, and then a double clothesline floored both men, ending things before they could really get started between the two. That small taste, though, was all the world of sports entertainment needed to know that they wanted more. Even more interesting, it would be Hulk Hogan who would challenge the Ultimate Warrior to a contest at WrestleMania 6.
Ultimate Warrior, me and my Hulkamaniacs put the championship on the line.
Hogan openly stated that he needed to know which power was truly the strongest in WWE, his or that of the Warrior. Adding to the stakes was the stipulation that both the WWE and Intercontinental Championships would be up for grabs, leaving the winner with supreme claim to lead WWE into the next decade. All right, now it's your turn to try and shock all the little Hulkamaniacs out there and try to beat Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Can you harness the power of the Ultimate Warrior? There's only one way to find out. I'm pretty sure the last thing anyone expected from Hogan versus Warrior was a crisscross, but this is WWE, and anything can happen. Ultimate Warrior rising to his feet immediately after being body slammed was such an iconic moment. But it was absolutely crazy to see them do a second crisscross. And when Warrior returned the body slam to Hogan, it hurt the Hulkster. He didn't pop up the way Warrior had. Just the difference in reactions between the body slams, you could sense that change was in the air. Seeing Hogan struggle like this wasn't something the WWE Universe was used to.
After the clothesline sent him crashing to the floor, Hogan appeared to hurt his knee, the last thing he needed. Ultimate Warrior was here to prove that his hype was real. Warrior was going to run right through Hogan at this pace. When Warrior and Hogan clotheslined each other, you could hear a pin drop. Now you're wondering, who's going to get up first? Is Hogan as hurt as he seems to be? Does Warrior have the gas in the tank to pull through in this moment? Remember, Hogan's had many championship matches, and he knows what it takes. He can use the time to get his breath back. And then Warrior sits up, and half of the arena goes crazy while the other half lets out a defeated groan. Ultimate Warrior looking every bit the dominant superstar, getting to his feet while Hogan stays down. The Hulkster was running out of magic. Could he find one more iconic comeback? Hogan had been out-muscled by opponents before, but they were usually 7 feet tall or 400-plus pounds. Seeing Ultimate Warrior control Hogan in this bear hug was another one of those moments where you just knew what was coming. Hogan just could not break free from Warrior no matter what he tried. It was a smart play by the Warrior, too, able to rest himself while dealing out crushing punishment to the Hulkster. Warrior to this point had only been known for running through opponents in quick, brutal outbursts. He was showing more of a tactical side here, and it was paying off. Ultimate Warrior was showing that the moment wasn't too big for him. He wasn't trying to rush anything. With two of WWE's most popular superstars competing, the WWE Universe was divided. And right when Hogan finally gets his chance and manages to break Warrior's grip, the referee gets flattened, and now there's no one to count falls. As Warrior lifted Hogan up, things were looking perilous for the Hulkster. The Hulkamaniacs were hoping for one last gasp from Hogan. And they got it. Hogan kicking out at 2. A familiar sight as Hogan begins to shrug off the attack of the Warrior, slowly getting back to his feet. You know the deal. 3 big rights. The big boot. And then Hogan misses the leg drop. Hogan crashes hard to the mat. Now it was just up to the Ultimate Warrior to fulfill his destiny. Could he defeat Hulk Hogan?
Ladies and gentlemen, here is your WWE Intercontinental and the WWE Champion, the Ultimate Warrior!
An incredible victory for the Ultimate Warrior there, becoming the first superstar to hold the WWE and Intercontinental Championships at the same time. A truly historic feat on the grandest stage of them all. A victory that signaled a new wave of change that was about to hit all of WWE. Roddy Piper managed to change his luck in WWE when he captured his first championship in the company at the 1992 Royal Rumble. The wrestling world rejoiced for Hot Rod as the fiery superstar showed true emotion in the moment, revealing how much it meant to him. Once the most reviled man on the roster, he was now appreciated for his authenticity. Everyone was happy for him, except for one guy. Bret the Hitman Hart had changed his status in WWE in the spring and summer of 1991. When his legendary Hart Foundation amicably split the team, Bret would use the opportunity to springboard up the singles rankings, winning the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam that year. Wanting to be an active champion, Bret faced off against all comers, finding victory each time out. Until a few nights prior to the 1992 Royal Rumble, when Hart lost the Intercontinental Championship. And before he could get a rematch, Piper had swooped in and won the thing. The last thing the Hitman wanted to do was ruin Roddy Piper's moment. The two were close. Piper had trained in the family dungeon and spoke glowingly of not only Bret, but his entire family.
I gotta tell you how much I loves your family. I gotta tell you how much I loves your mom. I knowed you, I know this guy since he's been knee-high to a grasshopper.
Respectfully, the two agreed to compete at WrestleMania 8, which would emanate from Indianapolis, Indiana. But Piper understood that many felt Bret lost that title at less than 100%, and that he'd have to defeat Hart in the ring to get those people on his side. And while both men claimed they'd keep it respectful, most everyone understood what happens when you push Roddy Piper to the edge. And trying to take something from Roddy Piper is one way to do it, especially when it's the first title he ever held in WWE. And so it was Bret Hart's technical mastery against Roddy Piper's street fighting in an unheralded classic was produced by two absolute masters of their craft. And while they both tried to keep it friendly, you just knew it wasn't gonna last. Nearly 20 furious minutes of action unfolded between the two, each with near victories along the way. Blood, sweat, and tears was never more appropriate. The two gave their all on the goal of earning the WWE Intercontinental Championship. So, get in there and do your best to beat Roddy Piper to the punch. But beating Hot Rod is no easy task, even if you are the best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Heading into the match, the smart money was on Roddy Piper, resorting to his brawling tactics. but he looked to try and wrestle with Bret Hart at the start, which led to predictable results, with Bret outmaneuvering Piper. A fuming Piper would spit at the Hitman. Would Piper's desire to win and be champion override his desire to play fair? Could Hart use Piper's legendary temper as a constant exploit? Piper was already reverting to the man people knew him to be, and Hart was looking to exploit that fiery temper by embarrassing Piper as often as possible. Piper continued to show glimpses of the old Hot Rod, but still tried to play by the rules. He was desperate to remain champion, but his respect for Hart and his family kept him from unleashing that old demon inside. And Hart used that to his advantage, tricking Piper by feigning a shoulder injury after landing awkwardly on a dropkick. Piper, understandably, was not amused by this one bit. Piper slapped the taste out of Hart for gold bricking, as Bobby Heenan famously called it, and this once friendly competition was turning into the heated brawl many figured it would become. The tension was growing between the two, but they were still trying to keep it sportsmanlike. The Hitman sent both tumbling to the floor with a crossbody. Piper would respond by holding the ropes for Hart to re-enter. Hart was hesitant, but ultimately accepted. And that was the information Piper needed, that Hart trusted him. Piper would immediately violate that trust by telling Bret his boot was untied and unloading a huge sucker punch. The gloves were off, and the two were in a fight for survival. Hart wanted to use little tricks, while Piper just suckered him with the old, "your shoe's untied." A huge shot from Piper, and it looks like the Hitman may be busted open. With tempers boiling, Piper manages this well-timed shove of Hart to knock the official down. And if you think that was accidental, then you don't know Roddy Piper. As soon as the official goes down, you see the old Hot Rod start to appear. He's brawling with Hart at ringside. He's throwing him into the ring steps. And then he grabs the ring bell. Hart's down on the mat, can barely move, and Piper's telling him to get up. As you see the sneer on Piper's face, like, this is your fault, man. As Piper measures Hart up for the bell shot, you can see the inner struggle. What would the Hart family think about this? What would your fans think about this? How could you look Bret Hart in the eye if you win it this way? And he keeps lifting the bell as if he's going to use it, and you're wondering which Roddy Piper is going to win out, the angel or the devil. And then he does the right thing and tosses the bell aside. In an instant, he's got Hart in a sleeper hold. Piper has Hart beat. But the Hitman had one more counter up his sleeve, trapping Piper in the pinning combination while still in the sleeper hold. More amazing was how the instant the match was over, the respect between the two immediately returned.
Somewhat forgotten classic sees the excellence of execution, using every last trick in his repertoire to pull out the victory over Roddy Piper. And WrestleMania 8 sees a rare pinfall loss for Hot Rod, but an even rarer display of professionalism from him makes the moment all the more memorable. Up next on this WrestleMania train down memory lane, we go to WrestleMania 10 in New York City, and the first ladder match to ever take place at WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels captured his first Intercontinental Championship with a big win over the British Bulldog on Saturday night's main event in the fall of 1992. But in the fall of 1993, Michaels would be stripped of the championship due to inactivity. As the Heartbreak Kid watched from the sidelines, Razor Ramon would capture the vacant championship. At the 1993 Survivor Series, Michaels would announce that he was back and that he only had one mission: to humiliate Razor Ramon, who he considered to be a fake champion. Having never been defeated in the ring, HBK still believed he was the rightful Intercontinental Champion.
There is only one undisputed Intercontinental Champion, and it is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Never one to back down from a fight, Ramon was more than ready to face Michaels anytime, any place. But Shawn wanted to play games with the bad guy, interfering in his matches and even performing Ramon's vaunted Razor's Edge finisher to taunt him. Shawn was also very open about relying on his 7-foot monster of a bodyguard, Diesel, to help him get through any tough situations. WWE officials, forced with figuring out how to decide who the true Intercontinental Champion was, came to a decision. Both championship titles would be suspended above the ring in a ladder match. The winner would be the first superstar able to incapacitate their opponent long enough to climb the ladder, grab both championships, and finally settle the issue once and for all. This matchup would see both men use everything they could to stop the other, including the ladder repeatedly. It was used as a battering ram, even as a perch from which to dive for a huge splash. Both Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels laid it all on the line in this epic clash, leaving everyone breathless with each new flurry of offense. So, you're gonna have to do your best to deal with not only a Mr. WrestleMania who wants his Intercontinental Championship, but also with the menacing Diesel at ringside. Stay focused, and maybe you'll be oozing enough machismo to climb that ladder of success.
Razor Ramon was looking to prove that despite never defeating Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship, he was still the real champion. Shawn Michaels had a clear game plan for this match. With no rules, he'd be able to receive assists from his bodyguard Diesel. No disqualifications in a ladder match means it's not cheating. The second Michaels tossed Ramon to the floor, that plan was put into action with Diesel attacking the bad guy. Unfortunately for Shawn, the official decided that wasn't going to work. Despite Diesel's arguments, the WWE official decided to kick Big Daddy Cool out of the ringside area. Shawn had talked a lot about being the real champion, and now without his 7-foot backup, he was going to have to back those words up himself. This distraction bought Ramon enough time to recover and send HBK flying with a huge right hand. Ramon floors Michaels, and now with Diesel banned from ringside, it looks like the Heartbreak Kid needs a new plan for the bad guy. Heading into this match, a lot of people wondered how the ladder would come into play, and it didn't take long for Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels to answer that question. Razor placed the ladder on the apron to re-enter the ring, and that gave Shawn the opening he needed to launch a baseball slide dropkick that sent the ladder crashing into Ramon's ribs. Had Razor even considered that type of offense from Shawn in his preparations? Had Shawn practiced that very move? He appeared ready to strike the second the ladder was laid down. Clearly, any moment with a ladder nearby was going to be dangerous, and one would need to always be aware of their opponent's location. With his bigger, stronger opponent struggling to breathe, Michaels would be able to build his own momentum. Michaels started to realize that as long as he used the ladders to his advantage, the lack of Diesel's presence wouldn't be as detrimental as he first thought. Knowing Ramon now had a weak point, Michaels crashes that ladder right into the ribs of Ramon, and he has completely turned the tide of this match. You could see it on the faces of Razor's fans, who sat in disbelief as Shawn took control. Both men had looked to hit the other with a ladder in a variety of ways, but Shawn Michaels was about to shock the crowd with a different approach to ladder-based offense. With Ramon down, Michaels would climb the ladder near the corner and come crashing down onto Ramon's already weakened ribs. Why waste all that energy swinging the ladder around when you can just climb it and jump off from great heights, right? Michaels, thinking it was over, began to climb. Now, normally Michaels may have gone for the cover, and he may have even won the match after such an incredible move. But with ladder matches, it's not that easy. So even with Ramon in great pain, he was able to find enough fight in him to get to his knees and topple the ladder over. Shawn Michaels could see the match starting to slip away, but instead of panicking, he'd look for an opening. Reversing a Razor Ramon attack, he'd plant the bad guy with a devastating pile driver. HBK wanted to show off one other trick, bringing the ladder with him over to the corner. SHAWN was in clear control here. I'd never seen anything like this before, and it's still jaw-dropping today. He didn't just climb the ladder. He'd proceed to fall with the ladder beneath him onto the downed Ramon. It was now or never for Razor Ramon as his grasp on the Intercontinental Championship appeared to be slipping.
One of WrestleMania's greatest collisions comes to its scintillating conclusion with Razor Ramon just managing to outlast Shawn Michaels, claiming possession of the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 10. The latter match would open the door for future classics, like the TLC and Money in the Bank matches as well, forever sealing its place in WrestleMania lore. Our next match is another legendary moment that will live forever, as we head to WrestleMania 13. Rosemont, Illinois would play host to the most important night on the sports entertainment calendar. And on this night, a match that is the literal definition of an all-time classic unfolded. Bret Hart had been the face of WWE's new generation for years, proudly defending the WWE Championship against all comers and defending WWE's honor against its most heinous villains. After losing the WWE Championship to Shawn Michaels in WrestleMania 12's Iron Man match, the Hitman took some time off to consider his future options. When he returned, roughly 6 months later, there were drastic changes to the landscape of WWE's universe. Top among those was the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. The man who started the year off as Ted DiBiase's ringmaster would find freedom in his true identity, dropping his manager and finding superstardom in the wake of his 1996 King of the Ring tournament victory.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
WWE was trying to find its attitude, but the seeds of change were being planted in the fans who had rallied around Austin. His no-nonsense attitude had made him the ultimate anti-hero. This acceptance of someone who flaunted his breaking of the rules didn't sit right with the Hitman. When Bret made his return, he immediately challenged Austin, who was more than ready to answer the call. The two battled at 1996's Survivor Series, where Hart won in a masterful performance of a feverish back-and-forth battle. The loss only made Austin angrier, creating a single focus for him: to ruin Bret Hart's career. He'd eliminate Hart from the 1997 Royal Rumble match after officials missed Hart first eliminate Austin. The night after Hart captured the WWE Championship at Final Four, Austin would interfere in Hart's first defense on Raw, ending the reign before it could even get started. WWE officials would pit the rivals against each other in a no disqualification submission match. The loser would be forced to admit they were defeated by the better combatant. To make sure that order would be maintained, a special referee was assigned: the world's most dangerous man and former MMA champion, Ken Shamrock. And while Hart had the edge in submission wrestling, Austin was no slouch in that department. And he also had one other thing going for him. his promise to the world that he would never in a million years give up. Once the match started, these two unleashed months of hatred on one another. We were lucky enough to talk to the Rattlesnake himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin, to get his thoughts on this classic encounter.
A lot of people think that the WrestleMania 13 match between myself and Bret the Hitman Hart is one of the best of all time. Certainly one of the best in all of WrestleMania. To me, it's a very special match because everything happened so magically, and specifically WrestleMania 13 cemented the legacy of who and what Stone Cold Steve Austin was. From start to finish, we started it off, we brawled out, we came back into the ring, we brought various factors from around the ring into the ring to use against each other. Some of the stuff backfired on me. It was full of chills, thrills, and spills. I gotta call a spade a spade. I mean, it is my favorite all-time match, and I've been to some classics.
Always an honor to get to pick the brain of one of WWE's top-level legends. Thank you again to Stone Cold for talking with us about WrestleMania 13. Now it's on you to try and find a way to take out WWE's toughest SOB. Remember, there are no disqualifications, so use whatever you can, and maybe you'll find a way to get him to surrender. I just wouldn't recommend messing with the referee. Shamrock's ankle lock is nasty.
Hart immediately showed why this match was perfect for him. Instead of just punching Austin's face, he'd attack Austin's legs instead. Bret wanted to make sure that his search for revenge also ended with him victorious. Hurting Austin in a losing effort was worthless to him. Hart knew every single attack would be used to set up his vaunted sharpshooter, so he started the work early. The Hitman would also find ways to mix his technical style into a more vicious approach, like when he locked Austin in a figure-4 leg lock around the ring post. Normally, a hold that would be subjected to a referee's 5 count, Hart could inflict damage until he chose to let go. And just how much damage had the move done? Had Austin's knee brace offered any type of defense against the maneuver? Austin had the reputation as a brawler, but Hart was showing that he wasn't completely out of his element in this no disqualification match. Bret looked to keep things relatively simple, and so far the plan was paying off. Work the leg, break it down, and the submission opportunities would come. As the two continued to fight, the action would again return to ringside. A strong Irish whip from Hart sent Austin flying into the guardrail by the timekeeper. Hart stayed on the attack, looking to maintain control under any circumstances. Unfortunately for Austin, a huge cut had been opened up on his head. And seeing the red on Austin brought out a whole new level of ferocity for the Hitman. Bret unleashed months of built-up aggression on Austin. Hart abandoned his limb-based attack, focusing only on Austin's bloodied face. Austin looked to be in very, very bad shape now, all from an innocent Irish whip. It was now Austin's time to prove that he was everything that he said he was. Did Austin have the fight in him to keep going? Would he look for a way out now that Hart had him badly hurt? The Hitman was now in firm control, with Austin in big trouble with a nasty wound on his head. Things were not looking good for the Rattlesnake. continued to maintain control, but Austin would not stop fighting back. Desperate, Austin found an opening, tossing Hart to the apron. Austin would then reveal the lengths he was willing to go to, grabbing an extension cord at ringside. I still can't believe that Ken Shamrock checked to see if Hart gave up instead of trying to break him free. Just when it looked like Austin was finding daylight, the resourceful Hitman clobbered him with the ring bell. Austin had already looked like he was nearly finished. The fans, who had steadily grown louder in favor of Austin, tried to rally the Rattlesnake back to his feet one more time. Cut bad and now down again. Was there anything left in Stone Cold Steve Austin? When Hart locked in the sharpshooter, you could see two clear reactions. One group was loudly cheering, sure that the Hitman had done what he needed to do, and that victory was coming. The other group sat with a mixture of disappointment and hope on their faces. Austin was in trouble, of course, but there's no way Stone Cold was going to give up, right? Bret continued to pull back, remembering all the things Austin had said. Remembering his unfair ouster at the Royal Rumble. Remembering Austin costing him the WWE Championship. And Stone Cold kept fighting. Austin refused to give up, refused to lose to someone for whom he held so much disdain. Now it was the Bret fans who looked worried, and the Austin fans who began cheering, hoping to will their guy to one last incredible act. Bret pulled back and Austin pushed forward, taking every last bit inside of him to try and fight his way out of the sharpshooter. But on this evening, it wasn't to be. Bret nearly toppled over, but managed to rebalance and reapply the hold. Austin, in one of WWE's most memorable visuals, would struggle one last time to find an escape before collapsing unconscious. Special referee Ken Shamrock would call the match here, as Austin was no longer able to defend himself. Yes, Stone Cold lost, but he lived up to his word and he never gave up.
As a result of Stone Cold Steve Austin losing consciousness, the winner of this bout, Bret Hitman Hart!
Hart was happy with the win, but he still took the opportunity to attack Austin after the match, which only served to alienate whatever fans still cheered for Bret. Even in victory, Hart refused to be the better man, which was disappointing to the millions who had supported him. But for Hart, all that mattered was the victory. He'd proven that he was better than Stone Cold Steve Austin, which is all he cared about. And Stone Cold had, while trapped in the sharpshooter, won over an entire fan base with his fight until the very end. It's one of the greatest matches in WWE history, featuring two of the very best to ever compete in a WWE ring. It made Stone Cold Steve Austin a generational superstar, and it showed that the Hitman wasn't only a technical wrestler. counter holds, ringside brawling, and lots of weapons, along with one of the most famous endings to any WWE match ever. Such a classic. I never get tired of this match.
Watch out. Here we go.
Despite being victorious, Bret Hart's post-match attack on Steve Austin only served to galvanize the fans into fully supporting Stone Cold. And Austin, even in defeat, would only increase his reputation by living up to his word, refusing to surrender in the match. Steve Austin fighting the sharpshooter with everything he has remains an enduring WrestleMania moment in a career filled with them. 4 years later, Austin found himself in a very different position in WWE. Taken out in a heinous attack at the 1999 Survivor Series, Austin would be out for nearly a year before returning at No Mercy in 2000. Austin would first look to exact revenge on those who took him out, Rikishi and Triple H, before setting his sights on regaining the WWE Championship. Stone Cold would then head to the 2001 Royal Rumble, entering at number 27. Before he could enter the ring, he'd again be attacked by Triple H, looking to avenge Austin's interference earlier in the night. Austin was in bad shape, but somehow managed to emerge victorious, securing his opportunity to compete for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 17. Defending against Austin would be The Rock, Austin's main rival for years. The two legends personify the Attitude Era and had previously met for the WWE Championship in the main event of WrestleMania 15. That night, Stone Cold managed to defeat the corporate champ to regain the championship. On that same night that Rock captured the WWE Championship at No Way Out 2001, Austin would face Triple H in a 3 stages of hell match. Each fall would be held under different rules: a standard match, a street fight, and then a steel cage if necessary. While Austin took the early lead in winning the first fall, he'd lose the next 2 in a heartbreaker to Triple H. The loss shook Austin, who felt the wave of momentum he was riding should have been unstoppable. Heading into WrestleMania, Austin would speak openly about how he didn't just want the win, but that he needed it.
I need to beat you, Rock. I need it more than anything that you can ever imagine.
When you headline an event, you've got to be on top of your game, be in the best of your game to put on a show and to warrant that main event status.
Austin was going to do everything he could to guarantee the nearly 68,000 attending in his home state of Texas would not be disappointed. The People's Champ had other ideas. He had worked hard while Austin was out to establish himself as the man in WWE, and the opportunity to prove his status with this WrestleMania rematch had the Brahma Bull almost bursting at the seams. If anything was for sure, it was that The Rock would do one thing, and one thing only.
Just bring it.
He'd been through the battles, he'd come into his own, nothing was handed to him, he earned it all, and he turned himself into the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. At no point in time in wrestling history were 2 stars, 2 wrestlers, as hot as both I was and The Rock was. It's hard to explain why we're such good opponents. We just were.
So now it's time for you to head into one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, WrestleMania 17 in 2001, a night that serves as the pinnacle of the Attitude Era's excellence, with its 2 biggest names doing battle once again. Are you ready to open up a can on The Rock? Or will you find out that going one-on-one with the Great One isn't the electrifying opportunity it appears to be.
Before the bell could even make this match official, the action was underway. Austin was proving that he'd do anything to win, first attacking Rock while his back was turned, and then looking to use the WWE Championship. Rock had a brief moment where he unloaded some of his trademark rights, but then ran into Austin's Fez press. Austin was wrestling with a hint of desperation not usually seen from him. A very, very fast start for Austin, as he'd use a couple of his running elbows to rattle Rocky in the early moments. Was The Rock not ready for Austin's tactics? Would he be able to get back into the match quickly before Austin really started stomping a mud hole? Once the action went to the ringside area, the brutality really got ratcheted up. Rock used the announce table and the keeper's table to his advantage. But took his eye off Austin for one brief moment, which allowed Austin the chance to clock him with the bell. Austin was really looking like a different superstar than the one we'd known the last few years. There was a sinister look in his eye as he yelled at officials. a more deliberate approach as he threw heavy rights at The Rock, who stumbled all over trying to stay on his feet. Austin's face wore an angry sneer while he planned his next move, knowing he had plenty of time with Rocky hurt. Back in the ring, Austin continued a methodical, brutal beatdown to the People's Champion. Right after right after right, despite the objections of the referee, found their mark. Even when Rock was able to land a few strikes of his own, Austin immediately cut off his offensive surge. Stone Cold hadn't been WWE champion for nearly 18 months, and it was clear that this had done something to his psyche. The Rock wasn't the reason that Austin was out, but he had clearly benefited the most from Austin's absence. And it seemed that Austin was taking every opportunity to make Rock pay for taking what he considered to be his. Did The Rock really underestimate what kind of match this was going to be? Had he considered Austin to be a friend? Did he not take Austin's words at face value? For a little bit there, it looked like Austin had completely overwhelmed The Rock. But The Rock never lost faith in himself. He took advantage of Austin backing off and clotheslined his way back into the match. Once he had Austin down, Rock was able to reevaluate the situation. And once he had, he went to ringside to grab the timekeeper's bell. Instant karma, it seemed, was going to get Austin. Now it was The Rock who was going to find an angrier, meaner place inside. And it was The Rock who was going to make Stone Cold Steve Austin suffer. With no rules to hold them back, the Brahma Bull and the Rattlesnake were going to throw absolutely everything at each other, with the dream of leaving WrestleMania 17 as WWE Champion. And forth they'd gone, but neither Austin nor The Rock had found that moment that would give them the win. As Austin attempted an Irish whip though, The Rock would surprise him with a stone-cold stunner of his own. The millions and millions of Rock's fans exploded. Would this be it? Could The Rock embarrass Austin like this by beating him with his own move in Texas? Austin would display his hallmark grit, managing to kick out at the 2 count. And while the 2 men laid on the mat, trying to find the spark to get back to their feet, Mr. McMahon would make his entrance. All eyes are on Mr. McMahon, but in the ring, Austin flattens The Rock with an incredible spine buster, which gets a 2 count. Caught up in his frustration, Austin blindly rushes at Rock, who now flattens Austin with his spine buster. That leads to the people's elbow. But when Rock covers Austin, Mr. McMahon breaks up the pin. That's right, Mr. McMahon helped Stone Cold Steve Austin. To this day, I cannot believe I ever saw that happen. The look on The Rock's face is pretty much the look that I had. What the hell? Rock's anger raged over, and he made a huge mistake in forgetting about Austin in hopes of laying the smackdown on Mr. McMahon, which led to him running straight into a stone-cold version of the Rock Bottom. Mr. McMahon had turned the match on its head, and Stone Cold Steve Austin looked ready to strike and finish his quest of regaining the WWE Championship under some unthinkable circumstances. was inevitable. Stone Cold was going to win, and it was obvious to everyone watching. The Rock had been able to get back into it once Mr. McMahon had arrived. Now Stone Cold was obliterating The Rock with a chair as Mr. McMahon instructed him, and all we could do was watch. Somewhere in the darkest places of Steve Austin's mind, he had convinced himself that the only way to get back to where he was would be by teaming with the man who had been his biggest enemy for years. Had the man never really changed? Had he simply fooled the fans during those years where he was WWE's most popular superstar? Should it have ever been surprising that the man who preached DTA, don't trust anybody, was not someone to be trusted? Or had something changed in Austin while he was gone? And how could The Rock have ever expected anything like this to happen?
One of the most stunning endings in WrestleMania history sees Stone Cold Steve Austin align with Mr. McMahon to regain the WWE Championship. WrestleMania 17 was in many ways the last stand for WWE's Attitude Era. Steve Austin and Triple H formed a two-man power trip as an impending invasion from WCW and ECW would forever alter WWE. So much talent in one spot would lead to the brand split and a new era, one of ruthless aggression. And at WrestleMania 20, WWE returned to its roots in New York City, proudly featuring two ring generals competing for the WWE Championship, with Eddie Guerrero defending against Kurt Angle. From his arrival to WWE in late 1999, Kurt Angle was an absolute natural in a WWE ring. His rookie year would see him capture the European, Intercontinental, and WWE Championships, an astounding accomplishment. The Olympic gold medalist always used his three I's: intensity, integrity,
And intelligence.
to either be a champion or to be competing for a championship. Angle lost the WWE Championship to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 19 in Seattle and looked for the opposite result at WrestleMania 20. Carrying months of resentment, Kurt looked to right the wrongs as he challenged for the championship. Despite coming from a legendary wrestling family, Eddie would not receive the path to instant stardom that his opponent did. Instead, he worked his way up from Mexico to ECW and then to WCW before finally earning a chance with WWE. It took him years to finally realize his dream, and once he had, Eddie did everything he could to keep it. In 2004, Eddie won a 15-man mini Royal Rumble that granted him a match against Brock Lesnar at No Way Out for the WWE Championship. The last man he eliminated? Yep, Kurt Angle. Still, at this point, the two appeared to be on friendly terms, even if the disappointment was obvious for Kurt. And at No Way Out in San Francisco, Eddie would achieve the impossible, defeating Brock Lesnar to finally hold the WWE Championship.
It was Eddie Guerrero's time. It was his time to show that he was a top performer. So I knew Eddie was on a roll, and I knew my work was cut out for me.
Angle was victorious in a triple threat match to be named the #1 contender. On the surface, it seemed all was well. Two fantastic competitors who would battle to see who was better. But it turned out that Kurt Angle had been seething ever since that 15-man Rumble. And with his match set, he struck. Attacking Eddie while working as a special guest referee, Angle went ballistic on Latino heel.
I felt the need to beat Eddie Guerrero, not just beat him, but beat him up and try to hurt him.
The tone was set. This was not about competition or athletic pursuit. This was about a former champion desperate to reclaim his throne, and a new champion who wasn't going to let anyone take his dreams away from him. Now it's time for you to put Kurt Angle in the silver medal position and find a way to retain Eddie Guerrero's WWE Championship at WrestleMania. But if you're not careful, Kurt's going to grab that ankle, and you'll have two choices: tap or snap.
Kurt Angle always looked to prove that his opponent had no business in the ring with him. He'd use basic mat wrestling sequences to feel his opponent out to see if he could make them uncomfortable. Eddie Guerrero knew that he had the technical skills to hang with Angle, and showing them off would be essential to his survival in the match. If Angle knew you were outmatched right away, he'd just play with you. Eddie being able to counter his way out of Angle's mat wrestling was his way of saying, I'm the champion for a reason, and I'm just as good as you are. Nobody able to grab control, both back to their feet in the standoff. Angle looking a little surprised that Eddie was more than capable on the ground. The reversals in this match were non-stop. Kurt would find his way out of Eddie's Three Amigos, and Eddie returned the favor when he freed himself from Angle's grasp as he attempted the rolling German suplexes. Angle's attempts to show that Eddie wasn't in his league had not gone the way he'd hoped for to this point. The anger that led him to attack Eddie in the first place now had Angle looking for a German suplex from the apron onto the floor. Luckily, Eddie was able to free himself from the situation and open up more offense for himself. An opponent like Kurt Angle was so difficult for this very reason. He was so good, he'd force you to take big risks against him in hopes of gaining that ever so important control. It appeared Angle had set him up, moving out of the way the second that Eddie dove at him from the top rope. Eddie went chest first into the barricade, taking all the air out of him. As Angle maintained his control, Eddie again grew desperate, looking for any chance to get Angle on the defensive. Perched on the top turnbuckle, Guerrero would fight back, sending Angle crashing to the mat. Looking to strike quickly, Eddie again went for broke, attempting his frog splash to a downed Angle. Each time Eddie took a risk, it failed to pay off. Was Kurt baiting him to force the mistakes, or was Eddie just rushing the opportunity? Eddie would need to make adjustments if he was going to find the victory. Eddie was attempting to rally, and Angle needed to cut it off quickly. You know Kurt means business when the straps come down. He had Eddie right where he wanted him, looking to end the match courtesy of his trademark ankle lock. Eddie hadn't taken much damage to his ankle at this point and was able to survive the painful predicament with a timely roll-up. So evenly matched, no one able to maintain a dominant position for long. Both men were unsure of their path to victory, but Angle was not going to let that throw him off his plan as he took the champion down again with another German suplex. Eddie had fought so hard to get back into the match, struggling to get Angle back to his feet, hoping to put the finishing touches on his challenger. In the blink of an eye, Angle had managed to trap Eddie back in the ankle lock. The exhaustion was obvious, but Eddie continued to fight. Could he make it to the ropes? Was he going to tap out? Eddie reached into his bag of tricks and was able to roll forward, sending Angle crashing to the floor. Despite freeing himself from the hold, Eddie still seemed to be in a bad predicament. His ankle looked to be severely damaged, keeping him from following up with any attacks. Looking scared, Eddie began to loosen his boot, hoping to alleviate any potential swelling. The look in Angle's eyes as he went back into the ring was like a lion chasing down its prey. With the ankle lock again applied, was there anything left in Eddie? The answer was yes, as Eddie would free himself from both his loose boot and the ankle lock itself. In the confusion, Kurt would run right into a small package attempt by Eddie. And the bell rang, with Eddie Guerrero finally tricking Kurt Angle, keeping his status as WWE Champion intact.